Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. It's in the description below. Your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any Watchbox platform. Please reach out to me directly. Email tmosso@thewatchbox.com for pricing. Today, we're discussing the Audemars Piguet Jules Audemars Extra Plat. It is the extra thin, and it lives up to its name. In rose gold, it's broad and flat, 41 millimeters in diameter, 6.8 millimeters thick, and from lug to lug, 46 millimeters, with a nice broad 22 millimeter spacing that marks this as a modern watch. When I throw it on my wrist, which is 16 centimeters in circumference, you can see how flat it is, as the caliber 2120, bereft of a date, makes for a razor sharp disc on the wrist. Now, because it is a large watch, I would recommend a larger wrist just for proportion. Though being only 46 millimeters from lug tip to lug tip, you could wear this as a woman or as a person with a smaller wrist. I could see it wearing well on a wrist as small as 13.5 centimeters circumference. Again, it's only 46 millimeters from lug to lug, and you better believe it'll fit underneath the cuff. The strap is black gloss, medium rectangular scale alligator leather. It has a folded edge, monotone stitch, calfskin on the bottom. It is a brand new Audemars Piguet factory strap, and it uses curved spring bars so that the lugs can be drilled close to the case for a smaller gap between strap and case. But because of the curved spring bar, there's no impediment to the motion of the strap. You can pull it straight down around a smaller wrist. The buckle is an Audemars Piguet branded rose gold pin buckle, and it is theirs. You can see the AP maker's mark on the bottom. The case is beautiful and traditional. The movement is handmade, but so is the case. Don't shortchange it. A big part of the appeal of this watch is the welded lug double finished case. So you can see the case has a combination of a polished bezel, a polished case back, polished lug hoods, but then the flank of the lug has vertical satination, and the case band has longitudinal satination, and that's the double finish of which I speak. The lugs and the case were built separately. The lugs were then inserted into pre-drilled slots in the case. They were welded together, and then evidence of the welded joint was removed to create this beautifully sharp break between the surfaces. That's the kind of low-volume, hand-finishing, hand-crafting of a case that you can only afford when you plan to make a small number of watches. That is not suitable for mass production. Now, the bezel actually sinks below the lugs. You can see that the lugs are allowed to ride up to about halfway up the sheer face of the bezel. That's to thin out the watch, but also give the lugs a broad, full sculptural presence. Cropping them at the bezel would have resulted in a little bit of an overly short lug profile, and it would have complicated this beautiful cleft arc that runs from top to bottom. So the bezel was sunken below the hoods of the lugs. It's subtle, but the effect is pronounced in the thickness of the watch, which is less, and the size of the lug, which is greater. You want more presence. Lugs give cases their character. The bezel here is almost flat, but it has a shallow conical plane, and then the dial is a lovely rayon rose lathe pattern. And this is guilloche done in several different textures. You can see fine, it becomes coarser and broader as you move out to the hour track, and then we have a large sunray hour track, so you can see that step between the center dial and the outer dial. We have applique faceted, 18 karat rose gold indices, applique of course, no date, beautifully balanced. We have no seconds hand, which also helps to slim out the watch. Leaf style hands with a polished cannon pinion at center. And then we turn it all over, and you can see the machine that makes it possible. This watch is a third I series. Of course, AP for a long time would jump up to the next letter in sequence when it hit 100,000. This watch was sold in 2018. The model with an I serial on it would have been made during the I series, which was roughly 13 to 15, so 2013 to 2015. Jules Audemars, and this is how I wish they built all of them. It's hard to believe they went from this to the code 1159. Not that I dislike the 1159, just that this is classically beautiful, whereas the 1159 is more of a sports watch masquerading as a dress watch. We have caliber 2120, JLC based, originally created for Patek Vacheron and AP back in 1967. The movement by itself, without a date, without complications, is only 2.4 millimeters thick, and that's why it's here. You can see the rotor. I wish they still used this rotor on the Jumbo, but they don't. It has the AP logo in it. It is internally beveled, and you can see how many sharp interior angles are formed where bevels meet and create that sharp cleft crease. Inside of this rotor, innumerable interior angles. Many fine Geneva hallmark movements don't even have one, just the rotor on this watch gives you more than I can count with ease during a video. Now, the movement, it has a beryllium ring that runs all the way around its circumference. So the rotor with the mass is on one side, but this ring runs all the way around. There are 4 ruby rollers, one at each corner, and they brace that beryllium ring. And so no matter how hard the watch is impacted, the ring can't hit the base plate and the mass can't hit the bridges. So that's how the watch manages to be so thin. There are 36 jewels in this watch. It is 5-position adjusted like a chronometer. It's a unidirectional winder with a 40-hour power reserve. And you can see this being a more modern version of the movement. Audemars Piguet has fit a free-sprung Gyromax style balance for those precise adjustments and the durability that comes with a free-sprung architecture. It is very special, but it does show its age in one respect, and that is the presence of a vintagey beat rate of 19,800 vibrations per hour. Now, in addition to the rotor, these movements were finished to a much higher standard than, say, the AP Automatic 3120. And where that really expresses itself is in the mirror-rounded bevels. Those were done, if not initially by hand, they were finished by hand. So this is a very handsome movement. We have solarization of the crown wheel core and the ratchet wheel, black polished screws with chamfered slots in circumference, engine turned perlage on the base plate, big, broad Côte de Genève across the bridges, and of course that anglage, which is second to none and truly handmade. Reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com. Rest assured, this is a 30-meter dress watch, so don't get this one wet, but then you have an offshore for that. Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for pricing.